Hi, everybody. We're going to get started shortly. Oh, and I already see the questions. That's awesome. Oh, the question, I'm going to answer this question because we have 3 minutes until we get started. The question is about constipation. So one of the leading reasons for constipation is low thyroid. And so I want to get your thyroid checked first. So go have your TSH tested. That stands for thyroid stimulating hormone test. Get it tested. That has to be below 2. So that's really important because you cannot believe how many people, including young kids, so teenagers and even 10-year-olds, who have constipation that actually have what we call low thyroid or subclinical low thyroid. So thyroid that's not so bad, the doctor gives you drugs, but still bad enough to give you symptoms. And constipation is a symptom of low thyroid. And I'm going to talk about low thyroid at length a little bit longer and a little bit later in the talk. But I want to say one thing, don't use psyllium fiber. Psyllium fiber really is hard on the digestive tract, and years of using that will really mess things up. So my feeling is that you really want to look for other types of fiber, and I'm going to talk about those shortly as well. For those of you who have just come on to the talk, we're going to get started in a couple of minutes. I thought I'd take the opportunity to answer a couple of the questions while we were all waiting for everybody to sign on. The question about can we stop excess hair growth? So in women, we call this hirsutism, and this is when you end up with extra hair on your chin and maybe on your back and on your chest. And we absolutely can. In young women, it's associated with polycystic ovarian syndrome. And for those women, we use something called GlucoSmart, which is the recognized treatment for PCOS. And we also use EstroSmart, which I'm going to talk about in a minute as well. And if you have questions, you can just type them into the question box and I will try and answer them at the end. While I'm talking, there'll be other people on the talk tonight that will be answering questions as well. And so make sure you ask your questions. This is your opportunity to talk to me. And of course, a lot of you are already private messaging me through Messenger on Facebook as well. Oh, we're going to have a lot of discussions tonight about hair loss, so don't worry, I'll be covering that topic as well. Okay, we're going to get started because it's that time. My name is Lorna Vanderhaeghe. I'm a women's natural health expert. I've been researching and writing on nutritional medicine for over 35 years now. I've authored 13 books on nutrition, everything from arthritis to heart disease to the immune system, which is a really big topic right now. And of course, lots of books on women's health and nutrition as well. And thank you for joining me tonight. We're at a time right now where there's so many questions about what's going on. So if people do want to talk to me at the end about what they should take to protect themselves and their family from this coronavirus, I'd be happy to answer those questions. And I just posted a Facebook post on what nutrients you need to take to protect yourself, and also what to do if you or a loved one contracts the coronavirus or the COVID-19 virus. Anyways, welcome everybody. Tonight we're going to talk about hormones, and it's my favorite subject. And, you know, we should have really learned all of this information somewhere around age 12, and then we would have avoided all the period problems and the breast lumps and the ovarian cysts and the crazy mood swings. But tonight we're going to go through a whole host of different subjects, all associated with your hormones. And first, we're going to talk about where your hormones come from. And so all your male and female hormones are derived from cholesterol. And although cholesterol gets a really bad rap, you need adequate amounts of cholesterol to make your progesterone and estrogen and DHEA, testosterone and cortisol, your stress hormone. So what makes the difference between the woman who hits menopause? She feels awesome. She can't figure out why her friends are fanning and flashing and crying and forgetting their keys because she feels great. Well, the woman who feels great at menopause has great functioning adrenal glands, and your adrenals are two little glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and they are your backup hormone system. And those adrenals help you deal with stress every day of your life. And both men and women, they're producing cortisol. The adrenals also produce DHEA, which is your mother hormone, where a lot of other hormones are made from. Your adrenals are involved in the manufacture of testosterone and estrogens and progesterone, a little bit of progesterone. And when your ovaries shut down at menopause, those adrenals are going to kick in and make your hormones for you. So when we're under a lot of stress, especially that constant chronic stress, our adrenals become tired. So we're going to talk about the adrenals in a little bit, how to balance them and how they interact with menopause symptoms and other problems as well. And then we have our thyroid, which sits wrapped around your windpipe. And the thyroid is your master conductor of all of your hormones. In North America, we have an epidemic of low thyroid. We have 27% of the population already taking thyroid medications, things like Synthroid and levothyroxine. And then we have about 30% of the population walking around with low thyroid that have yet to be diagnosed. And we're going to talk about why that is and how we can get our thyroid working properly, because your thyroid is telling all these other hormone systems what to do. Your liver is the sentinel organ for hormone function. Your liver decides if your healthy estrogen is going to turn into cancer-causing estrogen. Your liver decides if your progesterone is going to become estrogen. Your liver detoxifies hormones when they get too high. And so we need to have a good, healthy liver. And if you're taking too many over-the-counter painkillers like Advil and Tylenol and drinking too much wine, then your liver is not going to be doing the job it needs to do to keep these hormones in their healthy state, and also to stop the conversion of your hormones into more dangerous forms of hormones. The gut is everything from your mouth to your butt. So if you have gas, burping, bloating, constipation, or diarrhea, you will have hormone problems because your digestive tract is involved in the conversion of hormones, similar to your liver, and also, more importantly, the detoxification of hormones when they get too high. And everybody talks about when we don't have enough estrogen or we don't have enough progesterone, but nobody is talking about what happens when you have too many of these hormones and too high levels of these hormones. And so we're going to talk about that as well. And the reason why I tell every single woman to take a probiotic supplement is because you need to have a healthy gut in order to have healthy hormones. Your fat cells are the most dangerous hormone factories in the body. Your fat cells have tons and tons of estrogen in them. The reason why the Canadian Cancer Society is telling women to stay in a healthy weight range is literally to keep our estrogen levels in check. And so think about it, all the women going back are mothers who were taking synthetic estradiol, very, very potent hormone that was causing a whole host of health issues. The ovaries have been relegated to the bottom of the list on this slide because in every single woman, our ovaries are going to take a much needed rest at menopause. The word menopause means 1 year with no menstrual cycle, and the average age of menopause in North America is 52. We can see it as young as 35 and as old as 60. But you need to have a healthy functioning ovaries in order to get pregnant and to have a good, those younger years where our cycles, if we don't have good functioning ovaries, then we have a whole host of problems with irregular periods. And your ovaries always also have little receptors on them for thyroid hormone, particularly T3 thyroid hormone, which is the more potent thyroid hormone. And so there's a connection between thyroid and the ovaries, and all of these hormones are talking to one another. And so tonight I'm going to talk to you about how we can get all these hormones balanced and working better. Before I do that, I've got to tell you what a normal menstrual cycle is, because I think so many women just don't know, because irregular periods, period problems are the earliest warning sign that your hormones are out of balance. And unfortunately, our doctors just keep prescribing birth control pills to people who have period problems, and that is simply a Band-Aid. It will not solve your problem, and most likely when you come off those birth control pills, the problem will still be there, and in some cases be much worse, especially in the situation with polycystic ovarian syndrome, where women go on the birth control pill, and when they come off, their PCOS flares up terribly. So we count the days of a menstrual cycle. Day 1 is the first day of bleeding. And in the first half of the cycle, estrogen rises. And estrogen's job is to make your uterine lining nice and thick and juicy. And the reason why it does that is so that if an egg gets in there during ovulation, the baby has somewhere to live for the next 9 months. Most women ovulate between day 10 and day 15. And that's a very important date to note if you want to have a baby, because you only get 12 tries a year. And a very important date to note if you don't want to have a baby. In the second half of the cycle, progesterone will rise. If you actually got pregnant, progesterone would rise 100-fold, and that's to keep you pregnant. If you didn't get pregnant, progesterone will fall, and that will signal the uterine lining to slough off, and you'll have another menstrual cycle all over again. Your period should show up on a regular basis. And what that means is they should come every 21 days, maybe every 25 days or 28 days, but it does it the same every month, and we call that regular. And for a lot of women who are getting heavy clotting, flooding periods, what's going on for them is in the first half of the cycle, their estrogen rises. And that uterine lining gets thicker, and then estrogen rises, and the lining gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And then when you finally do have a period, it's like the floodgates open, because your uterine lining just kept getting thicker and thicker and thicker from all this excess estrogen. And I'm going to talk about how we can fix that in the next couple of slides. And then we have the women who right before their menstrual cycle starts, before they start bleeding, they get terrible headaches and migraines. And that's because their progesterone falls too far too fast. And for those women, we use Vitex, or we can use EstroSmart Plus as well to bring our progesterone levels back up into a balanced state. Your periods should show up. You should not know they're coming. They should last maybe 3-4 days. You should not be chained to your house because of flooding periods. You should not be in terrible pain. You should not turn into a crazy person. And if any of that is happening, that is your body telling you your hormones are out of balance. And as I said, period problems are the earliest warning sign that your hormones are out of balance. So we've got to fix those problems so that we can solve other things. Because if we don't fix our period problems, we end up with endometriosis and uterine fibroids and ovarian cysts and breast lumps and a whole host of other things that are associated with this hormone imbalance. So one of the things we've discovered, Dr. Geraldine Pryor did all these tests on women, saliva hormone tests, where they found that women are really estrogen overloaded. We are estrogen overloaded well into our 60s and 70s, and that makes sense because the highest rates of estrogen receptor positive breast cancers are in women over the age of 50 who've already gone through menopause. So we know that North American women have too much estrogen in relationship to their other hormones. And the reason why is because we are being exposed to estrogens in our cosmetics in the form of parabens and phthalates. And so you've got to be a really good label reader. Make sure you're reading your cosmetic labels to make sure they don't have parabens in them. And your shampoo and your mouthwash and your toothpaste and anything and everything that you put on your body or in your body should not contain parabens. As well, a lot of foods are really estrogenic. And I'm going to tell you about one that I hate to even call a food, which is soy products, because they raise estrogen levels very, very high. Commercially produced meat and dairy products also increase estrogen levels. And on top of it all, the more stress you're under, the higher your estrogen levels go up. And think about how stressed people are right now. So when you have too much estrogen in relationship to your other hormones, our thyroid goes low, because we know that estrogen blocks the uptake of thyroid hormone. Estrogen and progesterone have to be in balance. So when your estrogen is too high, your progesterone drops. Well, progesterone is our warm and fuzzy hormone. It helps us sleep. It makes us feel calm and relaxed. And when our estrogen levels are too high and our progesterone is too low, we get anxiety and panic attacks and feelings of foreboding. We just don't feel safe. Also, estrogen causes cells to grow out of control. So think about it. If you already have uterine fibroids, endometriosis, ovarian cysts, heavy periods, breast lumps, you are already estrogen overloaded. We know that because you have these cells that are growing out of control. And of course, estrogen-related cancers are the worst case scenario when estrogen has just been allowed to run wild. And heavy periods are caused by too much estrogen, fibrocystic breasts, ovarian cysts, acne, migraine headaches, because remember, when your estrogen goes up, your progesterone goes down, and progesterone protects us from all these terrible headaches and migraines. And you know, all of a sudden you got covered in cellulite. You're 35, 38, 40 years old, and you look at yourself and you're just covered in cellulite. That is also caused by too much estrogen in relationship to your other hormones. And of course, things like endometriosis, fibroids, period problems, and really severe PMS are also associated with too much estrogen. And why do I care about this? Well, many years ago now, I was diagnosed with uterine fibroids, which caused terrible heavy flooding periods where I was literally chained to my house every month. I went and had an ultrasound, which everybody should have an ultrasound if you've got anything unusual happening with your periods. And they discovered that I had uterine fibroids. So I went to a gynecologist, and her recommendation was to take it all out. She's like, you know, you've already had all your kids, Lorna. Let's just take it all out. And I said, well, you know, I'd really like to go to the grave with my uterus intact as long as I don't have cancer. And so I'm going to go and find out what's really going on here. And what I discovered is that I had too much estrogen in relationship to my other hormones, which caused these uterine fibroids. So I learned that there are several key nutrients that we can take, plant nutrients, that can literally bring our estrogen back into the normal levels, which allows our progesterone to come up and our testosterone to normalize. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. But before I do that, I have to tell you about this non-food food, and that is soy products. So they finally did a research study in women. They had them do saliva hormone testing, which is the only true way to test estrogen levels in the body, unless you're going to do 24-hour urine tests where you pee in a bottle for 24 hours, or saliva hormone. The only way we can really tell what's going on with your estrogen is through saliva. And they did this study where they had women drink 1 8-ounce glass of soy milk, and they discovered that on average, the women's estradiol, so this very powerful estrogen, went up 380%. In some women, their estradiol went up to 1100%, which is not a good thing because you just learned that too much estrogen caused cells to grow out of control. So I am not a fan of soy, and if you are consuming soy on a daily basis, this is a big concern, especially if you're trying to get pregnant, because it very much interferes with fertility. Someone asked me a question about tofu. Well, if you're only having tofu once a week or a couple times a month, not a big deal. But if you're eating edamame beans every day, soy protein, soy tofu, that could be a concern. And there isn't a problem if you're just using a little bit of soy sauce as a condiment. But really, we need to get all this soy out. It is hidden in breads and crackers and cookies and biscuits and everywhere. And you just need to avoid it because it is so estrogen disrupting. And yes, soy is also bad for your thyroid. It blocks the uptake of thyroid hormone, and it increases estrogen, which blocks the uptake of thyroid hormone. So when I was looking for a treatment for my own uterine fibroids and these heavy periods that were just brutal, I discovered that there were key nutrients: indole 3-carbinol, DIM, sulforaphane, green tea, curcumin, rosemary, that had been found to bring our estrogen back into the normal range, to stop abnormal cell growth. Because you know, those fibroids and breast lumps and ovarian cysts and heavy periods, they may never turn into cancer, but I can tell you that they can become very problematic. If you get a big fibroid in your uterus, it can cause a whole host of problems. And if you get ovarian cysts that torque your ovary, it can be life-threatening. So I started taking this combination of nutrients, which I put in a product called EstroSmart, and I took 4 capsules a day. Within 2 months, my periods had normalized. A year later, I went and had an ultrasound, and my fibroids had shrunk by 13%. I kept taking these capsules for 4 years. And at the end of the 4 years, my fibroids had shrunk by 39%, which is pretty awesome because fibroids usually don't shrink until you go through menopause, and I hadn't at the time. We also know that these ingredients have been found to halt ovarian cyst growth. They stop abnormal cell growth in the uterus. They have also been researched for reversing abnormal pap smears. So if you're that person who keeps getting an abnormal pap, you need to go on these nutrients. If you're taking the pill or hormone replacement therapy, whether the hormone replacement therapy is synthetic or natural, you still want to take these protective nutrients so they can stop your bad estrogen from your good estrogen from converting into the bad estrogen. We actually have a Health Canada claim on EstroSmart for halting your good estrogen from converting into the bad estrogen. And if you've got heavy periods, EstroSmart is your best friend. It halts hormonal acne, and I haven't found anything that works as well to stop hormonal acne in 2 full menstrual cycles. And it also is awesome just to get those periods regulated. The liver also plays a big role in this, and these ingredients are gentle, safe liver detoxifiers. So it's awesome, and they all come from plants, so that's the other thing that is so exciting about this combination of nutrients. Okay, let's talk about the thyroid, because I think the thyroid is so linked to so many health conditions that women are suffering with today. And I think our doctors have forgotten the first-year medical textbook, which is where this comes from. So your thyroid is involved in whether you're going to be happy, sad, depressed, have lost your sex drive. Your thyroid is involved in your heartbeat. So a lot of people who get low thyroid or overactive thyroid have irregular heartbeat. Your thyroid is involved in your blood pressure. Your thyroid is involved in whether you're going to carry a lot of fluid on your body, so edema, especially those big heavy ankles. Your thyroid is involved in whether or not you're going to get pregnant and stay pregnant. It is the leading reason, low thyroid is the leading reason for infertility in women today. And when I talk about the test results and the numbers, you've got to write it down, because if you're trying to have a baby, this is so important. As well, I talked about this at the beginning of the talk before we got started, because someone had a question about constipation. Your thyroid is involved in how quickly food moves through the digestive tract. And when you have low thyroid, it goes slower, a lot slower, and people get constipated, and they get this big heavy belly below their belly button as well. And your cholesterol goes up. And these are just some of the symptoms. A lot of people lose 1/3 of their eyebrows. They gain weight. We call it stubborn weight loss. They cannot budge the weight no matter what they do. They can starve and run on the treadmill. And your thyroid is also involved in never-ending menopause symptoms. So these are just some of the most common symptoms of low thyroid. Feeling like you're pushing yourself through the day. You're just exhausted. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you have that big slump, you know, where you'd rather have cookies, but you have coffee and you get yourself going again. Dry, coarse hair, you're aging faster than your friends, your skin is dry, you're freezing cold all the time, you've got weight gain, heavy periods are a sign of low thyroid, brittle nails, infertility, recurring miscarriages, that's the other big one, and raging hot flashes and night sweats, and the never-ending menopause. So women who have low thyroid can have the menopause that lasts, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years later. Menopause should only last about 18 months maximum. Anything more than that, and is probably associated with your thyroid. So one of the challenges we have is the thyroid test. The range of normal is too broad. So there's nothing wrong with the test. The test is a good test. It's called a TSH test, the thyroid stimulating hormone test. But they've made the range of normal so broad. So in order to get diagnosed with low thyroid at your doctor's office, you would have to have a test result above 5. Now, that's even more confusing. The higher your number, the lower your thyroid. So that's important. So if you come and your doctor, you get your test done and your doctor tells you that your TSH is 4.5, that's not good. Anyone who has a TSH above 2 needs thyroid support. Your doctor won't give you thyroid medication until it is over 5. And some doctors won't give it until it's over 6 or 7 or 8. And that's far too much, because by the time your thyroid finally gets to 5, you have packed on 30 pounds, you're depressed, you're losing your hair. Big reason for hair loss, for those people who were asking about hair loss, is low thyroid. So when you go to get your blood tests or your urine tests, make sure you get a copy of them, because they're easy to read. They have the range of normal, and then they have your number. So you want to have your TSH below 2. And that is really important. So if everybody remembers that, your TSH has to be below 2. Never let your doctor tell you it's normal. You want to know your number, and it should be below 2. If it is above 2, then you are already heading towards low thyroid. We call it hypothyroidism. When you're between 2 and 5, we call that subclinical low thyroid. So really what that means is your thyroid number is not bad enough to get drugs yet, but you're going to have the symptoms. So there are nutrients that have such good clinical research for supporting your thyroid. One of them is ashwagandha, and I really like sensoril ashwagandha because it increases T4 thyroid hormone, and they've done some very good research on that herb. It's also standardized, so it's always the same every time you buy it. The other one is Google's or Camophora, which enhances the conversion of your T4 thyroid hormone to the more potent T3. And both these herbs together increase and boost the thyroid gland gently and directly. Potassium iodide, which was added to our table salt, which nobody eats anymore. The reason why they added potassium iodide to table salt was to stop the goiters or the growths on the thyroid. We are seeing a resurgence of thyroid growths because people are not getting enough potassium iodide. You only need a tiny little bit. So it is found in this combination of nutrients as well, some selenomethionine and tyrosine, and that combination can be found in ThyroSmart. And we use that to gently support your thyroid. And what will happen is it will bring your TSH back down into the normal range, which is what you want. You want that TSH to be below 2. I know for me, I've been getting my thyroid tested every year for, oh my goodness, since my 20s, so a very long time. And I know that I feel the best when my thyroid is at 0.9. So even lower than 2, that's when I feel fit and fabulous and strong, and I have lots of energy and I don't gain weight. You also want to take a great multivitamin with minerals, and right now everybody should be on a multivitamin with minerals that contains vitamin C and zinc and selenomethionine, because these things are so important for protecting us against viruses as well. And you take 2 ThyroSmart with breakfast. What about the people who are already on Synthroid or levothyroxine? That is T4 thyroid hormone. That drug is T4 thyroid hormone. And you probably, when you first went on it, felt pretty good. But over time, what happened is your symptoms started to come back. You started losing your hair, you started gaining weight again, you started being cold, depressed. And so what did the doctor do? Increase your dose of Synthroid or levothyroxine. Did it work? No. The reason why is because after you take the drugs for a long time, you lose the ability to convert effectively your T4 to T3. So giving you more T4 does not solve the problem. So what we do for you is you take your thyroid medication first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, the best time to take it, and then you take 2 ThyroSmart with breakfast later on when you eat your breakfast in the morning, with food, by the way. And hopefully you take protein for breakfast, because your thyroid loves protein. So a protein shake for breakfast is the best thing you could do. And what about stress? What about the adrenals? So the adrenal glands I talked about at the beginning, they're 2 little glands that sit on top of your kidneys. They are your backup hormone system. When your ovaries shut down, your adrenals are going to kick in. And they're going to make your hormones for you for the next 50 years. Those adrenals are dealing with stress every single day, and we are under a lot of stress. So When our adrenals become tired or exhausted, what happens is we start to get these symptoms. One of the hallmark symptoms of exhausted adrenals is you fall asleep fine, but you wake up several hours later wide awake and you can't fall back to sleep. Usually you wake up like 2, 3 in the morning and you're wide awake. That is the hallmark symptom that your adrenals are tired. Other symptoms include salt and sugar cravings, caffeine cravings. You have anxiety, panic attacks, that type of insomnia where you wake up in the middle of the night, low energy, you just feel like you're pushing yourself through the day. You get belly fat weight gain, you know, that muffin top that you just can't budge, crying jags, lots of inflammation where your joints are sore. Those are just some of the symptoms of adrenal exhaustion. And you know, if we don't stop and take care of our adrenals, then what happens is they just crash. And that's when we get things like Addison's or Cushing's syndrome, which the doctors recognize. They call that complete adrenal failure. So what do we do for stress? Well, first thing is say no. A lot of things that we do in our life we don't need to do, and we're doing them for other people and we're not taking care of ourselves. Breathing techniques. My favorite breathing technique: breathe in for the count of 4, hold for the count of 4, breathe out for the count of 8. And I had a really terrible jag with insomnia where I was waking up in the middle of the night. And that breathing technique, I practiced that over and over and over. And wow, does it bring your cortisol levels down and help you get back to sleep. It took a while. It doesn't happen overnight. Mindfulness meditation. I love the Calm app. And then there are nutritional supplements that are so important, especially if you're dealing with the full-on, you know, emotional symptoms of anxiety and panic and that feeling of foreboding. People say they feel like bad things are going to happen. It's an emotional response, or they're depressed. So we want to use adrenal support nutrients, and my favorite ones are rhodiola, ashwagandha, suma, and schisandra berries. And these are all very nice at helping to bring your cortisol levels back into the normal range. You also need an activated B complex. So that would be something like the activated coenzyme B complex that I have in my line. Probiotics. We've now learned that our gut and our emotions and our brain are all connected. And so that's where you want to have probiotics and prebiotics. And I really love Regular Girl. It's a prebiotic fiber. So for anyone who was asking about psyllium and taking psyllium fiber, that is not the fiber I recommend. You want to take things like acacia gum, or you want to take the fiber as we see in Regular Girl, which are also prebiotics that feed the probiotics in your body. And every single person needs magnesium bisglycinate. You can take a lot of it. It won't cause diarrhea. That's why I like that form of magnesium. And you want about 200 milligrams at bedtime every day. But I'm going to say it again, because for women, when our ovaries shut down at menopause, those adrenals are going to kick in for you, and they're going to make your hormones for the next 50 years. So you've really got to take care of the adrenals now. Let's talk about menopause. I've talked about it a little bit. I actually think that women have a much more difficult time at perimenopause, which is the 10 years before your periods stop. So the average age of menopause is 52. Perimenopause is the 10 years before. You're still getting periods in perimenopause. As you get closer to menopause, sometimes those periods become irregular. You might get 2 in a month. You might not get any for 3 months, and they come back regular again for a couple of years. But menopause is when your periods start to lengthen out, so the distance between them, and then they finally stop. And the symptoms are varied. As different as 50 women are, they can have 50 different kinds of symptoms at menopause. And so we're going to talk about treating the symptoms. And remember, just like when your period started as a teenager, some women had an easy time, other women had a really difficult time. The menopause transition can be the same. Some women sail through it. They don't have a single symptom, whereas other women just have everything from emotional symptoms to hot flashes and night sweats. The good news is we can treat all those symptoms and give you complete relief. So one thing I want to say is we need to eat more cruciferous vegetables. That's broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and kale. And the reason why you want to eat all those cruciferous vegetables is because they balance your hormones too. They also help to give you a lot of roughage to move through things through your digestive tract quicker, and they have cancer preventing activity. So that's the other reason why I want you to eat lots of cruciferous vegetables. They also found that women who had 2 orgasms a week had less thinning of the vaginal wall, less prolapsed uterus, less prolapsed bladder, and they were happier. And you need to make sure your thyroid stimulating hormone test result is below 2. That is absolutely key. And de-stress. Menopause is all about making it through that transition as effortlessly as possible. And so all those tips I gave you on the slide before for calming down and releasing and reducing the stress cortisol response, you should be doing. Now, what if you're the person who gets hot flashes and night sweats? Not every woman gets hot flashes and night sweats. Some women don't get them at all. But what if you are? If you are the person getting hot flashes and night sweats, then you want to take MenoSmart Plus, and you take 2 capsules at breakfast and 2 at bedtime. And the bedtime dose is incredibly important because that dose is to stop those night sweats in the middle of the night. I also have a great plant-based lubricant, which it feels just like your own vaginal secretions, and we use this for vaginal dryness. We use it for thinning of the vaginal wall and painful intercourse, and it is awesome to use along with the only estrogen I like, which is estriol, E-S-T-R-I-O-L, and the prescription is on the bottom of this slide, 0.5% estriol. And you can get your doctor to write you a prescription for that, and then you take it to a compounding pharmacy. And estriol is so safe that they have used it for wrinkles, for male facial hair growth, and also for reducing wrinkles in the face. So get some for your vaginal dryness, and then use a little bit on your wrinkles and your male facial hair growth as well. And again, we need a really good multivitamin with minerals. And you want to take adrenal support. And the way you take an adrenal support nutrient is lunchtime or mid-afternoon, or that 3 o'clock slump. Take a protein shake or some protein, a chicken breast or a piece of cheese, and take your adrenal support nutrients at that time. So we're going to talk about all the different symptoms associated with menopause. Some women get insomnia. Some women get weight gain. Some women have really serious emotional responses, which we talked about how to deal with the adrenal exhaustion symptoms earlier. So if you don't sleep, this is the most important slide in the entire presentation, because women who have chronic insomnia develop Alzheimer's dementia more so than women who don't. Women who have chronic insomnia, even if you're fit and thin and have not gained weight, will develop high blood pressure. So chronic insomnia is a real serious health concern. And as I said earlier, I had a bout with insomnia. So now when people tell me they don't sleep, I always ask, how bad? Because the worse your insomnia is, the harder it is on the body. So there are several different types of insomnia. We have already talked about the type of insomnia caused by adrenal exhaustion. And if you're that person who falls asleep fine, but you wake up in the middle of the night, then you will want to take Adrena Smart at lunchtime or mid-afternoon. Why do you take it then? You take it then so that the Adrena Smart combination of herbs has time to lower your nighttime cortisol level. The reason why you're waking up at 2 in the morning is because your cortisol is going up saying, wake up, wake up, wake up, it's time to get up. And that's exactly how you feel when you get that 2:30 in the morning response. Not enough melatonin. You have to have a pitch black bedroom. So if you have street lights coming in through your bedroom window, tape your whole window with tinfoil. It is the greatest blackout material known to man. Cover every one of your electronic devices that has that little blue annoying light. Cover them all with black electrical tape. Shut off all your lights. Move your devices into the bathroom away from you. No night lights, nothing. You want to have pitch black in your bedroom. And then when your room is pitch black, your brain will secrete melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. And I love melatonin. I've been taking melatonin sublingually since my 20s. I've been doing that because of the breast cancer prevention research. Also because melatonin is now one of the hot new anti-aging hormones. So you definitely want to make sure you get enough melatonin. You will not become addicted to it. So don't worry about that. And it is awesome for children too. Magnesium. What about the people who go to bed and they can't stop thinking and they have restless legs and they've got leg cramps and they just feel like they got bugs crawling all over them? You need magnesium. Anyone with heart palpitations or leg cramps or that twitchy, annoying eyelid, that is your body telling you you are so magnesium deficient. So you want to take 200 milligrams of magnesium bisglycinate at bedtime. No caffeine after lunch. That's an absolute must if you have insomnia. And don't exercise after 3 o'clock. Working out after 3 o'clock raises your cortisol level, the exact opposite thing we want to do. So if you have insomnia, you want to work out in the morning. And then we have a group of people who slept like babies until they went through menopause, and they usually are having insomnia because they have progesterone deficiency. So we are able to get natural bioidentical progesterone from our doctors. The prescription drug is called Prometrium. And so on the bottom of this slide, I put the prescription for Prometrium. It's 200 milligrams of Prometrium at bedtime, and it will knock you out and put you to sleep. Comes in little round balls. They're 100 milligrams a piece. And if you've got really bad insomnia, you may need Prometrium. And do not let them write you a prescription for Provera. Provera is synthetic progestins, which have absolutely nothing to do with progesterone. Progesterone is your calming, sleepy, lovey kind of hormone. And you do not want to take Provera, which is nothing like progesterone. So some people just need Adrenasmart. Some people need melatonin. You can get it in sublingual form. You can also get it mixed with herbs to knock you out and keep you asleep. Some people need magnesium bisglycinate. Some people need it all. And some people will need it all plus progesterone. And men can use Adrenasmart. Men who have insomnia can take melatonin, and men can take magnesium as well. They should not take the progesterone. Now I'm going to talk to you about skin, because when women go through menopause, wow, does their skin change. And I have talked about this absolutely wonderful, amazing essential fatty acid for skin for about 25 years now. It's called GLA, and GLA comes from borage oil. The highest concentration of GLA is found in borage, and the borage plant gives us these little blue flowers that's on the screen, and we take the seed out of the borage plant and we cold press it. So it doesn't need any chemicals to press the seed. It's a nice soft little seed. And this borage plant gives us a very high concentration of GLA. Evening primrose oil only gives a tiny amount of GLA, which is the reason why I don't recommend it, because what you want is a lot of GLA. And here's the thing, the only human food to have GLA is breast milk. After you finish being breastfed, your body's supposed to make GLA from the food you eat. Unfortunately, for people who have eczema, dermatitis, rosacea, and psoriasis, they do not make GLA very effectively from their food, and that is why they have those skin conditions. But when women go through menopause, we don't make GLA very well anymore. And as a result, that's why our skin gets so dry and dull and flat looking and loses that beautiful youthful luminosity that we had when we were younger. And so we have to take GLA as we age. And we cannot get GLA from fish or flaxseed oil. It doesn't contain any GLA. So my favorite source of GLA is from the borage oil, and look for a high concentration of GLA in that borage oil. And you can take it in a liquid, and you can take it in capsules. And I eat tons of it. It's my favorite fatty acid. And then I also apply it to my skin at bedtime. And it has also been shown to stop period pain. So if you're one of those people who's going to try EstroSmart for your period pain, you also want to add GLA. It stops breast pain as well, which is also fantastic treatment for that. And it can be used for children who have eczema and all of the skin conditions. Also, make sure you are not eating margarine or canola or soy oil or corn oil or peanut oil. None of those are good. And canola is genetically modified rapeseed oil, so you don't want to be consuming any of those bad fats. We are in the midst of what I call the collagen craze. And well over a decade ago, I introduced a product called Active Collagen, which was from France. And I love this product because it's a hydrolyzed fish collagen that also contains elastin. And the French did some really good research using this exact product. And they gave people 2,000 milligrams a day, so a tiny little amount of this active collagen in capsules. They measured the depth of their crow's feet wrinkles at the beginning of the study, how moist the skin was and how elastic it was, which means is your chin where it should be or has the skin started to sag. And they gave people 2,000 milligrams of active collagen in one group. Another group got placebo. And at 28 days, they measured the depth of the wrinkles and they found a 20% reduction in the number and the depth of deep wrinkles. And by day 84, at the end of the study, the skin was moister, the wrinkles had filled in more. Women reported their vaginal dryness also improved. But this stuff is really awesome because the longer you take it, the better it works. It just keeps working. The backs of my hands are now filling in from taking this collagen for so long. And it's really exciting. The other thing is your bones are full of collagen. So not only do we get the beautiful beauty effect, but we also get the benefit to our bones as well. And then what if you're a vegetarian and you also want to take a collagen enhancing product? There is a type of collagen enhancer that gets the body making its own collagen, and this is called choline stabilized orthosilicic acid and also biotin. These two things combined build collagen in your hair, your nails, and also your bones. And this particular supplement called Collagen Plus, I think is the best bone supplement on the market. Dr. Spector did research using choline stabilized orthosilicic acid in people who had pre-osteoporosis. We call it osteopenia. And they found a 2% increase in bone density in 1 year based on DEXA scans. So no calcium product will work like that. And the reason why most people buy this Collagen Plus is for the thick, strong hair, the hard fingernails, and the smooth skin. But I am here to tell you it is the best bone building supplement on the planet. And so it's also vegetarian for people who are vegetarian. It comes in little drops and you put 10 drops in your water. My girlfriends put it in their wine. And I use both this Collagen Plus and the Active Collagen because I want to do everything I can to slow the wrinkling and the sagging and the thinning hair. People had asked questions about hair loss, and I've already mentioned that one of the leading reasons for hair loss is low thyroid. Another reason, a very common reason for hair loss and hair thinning, and also for your hair getting much, much thinner and the diameter of the hair getting thinner and it breaking off and going gray faster, is low iron. And you do not have to be anemic to have your hair fall out. When I had the terrible heavy flooding periods, my ferritin went to 6. And I can tell you I almost lost all my hair. I could run my hand down the side of my head and it was bare skin. And so when you go to get your blood tested, you want a hemoglobin and a ferritin. Your hair follicles that your hair grows out of on the top of your head are full of ferritin. Ferritin is your iron storage. And when it goes below 70, so this is the blood test, when your ferritin goes below 70, that is when your hair falls out. And it goes gray faster and gets crunchy and dry and doesn't hold the color and the curl very well. We need to get 20 milligrams of iron from our diet. According to the latest Canadian study, the average intake is 8 milligrams a day. So we are absolutely not getting enough iron in our diet. And so you need an iron supplement, especially if your hair is falling out. And if you have the dark circles under your eyes, or you've got the peeling fingernails, that's another symptom of low iron as well. And I have a great iron supplement called Iron Smart. It comes in capsules, and you can get it 15 milligrams a day, which is all you need, 15 milligrams of elemental iron to solve this problem. And of course, if you have heavy periods, you want to take Extra Smart to stop the heavy periods so that you can rebuild your iron stores every month. Now let's talk about weight gain, because the most common questions I get are about how do I get rid of this belly fat, and I've done everything and I'm still gaining weight. The other one is hair loss and heavy periods. Those are like the three top questions I get continually on Facebook every day. And so let's talk about how do we get rid of this belly fat. And one of the things I want to tell you before I do that is that if you have skin tags, 4 or more skin tags, 4 or more, that is a sign that you are a pre-diabetic. There is so many clinical trials now where they measured blood sugar and insulin and counted the number of skin tags that people had. And they found if you had 4 or more, not 2, not 3, but 4 or more, that you were already pre-diabetic or have insulin resistance. And that's what leads to the weight gain and also the belly fat. Combine that with the stress and anxiety that you get when you have adrenal exhaustion, which also adds to the weight gain. And of course, the surging estrogen levels in perimenopause, which also add to the belly fat weight gain. So if you've already got skin tags or you've got a lot of belly fat, then we want to change your diet, and we want to change it to protein, green veggies, and healthy fats. Not pasta and rice, which I know everybody has stocked up a lot of pasta and rice to get us through the social distancing that we're doing. But you need to switch your diet to green veggies, protein the size of the palm of your hand at every meal, and good healthy fats like extra virgin olive oil, avocados, and coconut butter, because we need to get this weight off of us and reduce alcohol intake also. And one of the supplements that I really, really like is, it's called Chirositol. The big name is D-chiroinositol. And I got really excited about this research. They've done over 30 clinical trials now. And this ingredient is derived from the carob plant. And I was really excited. I was watching their research. They were trying to get diabetics, pre-diabetics, blood sugar and insulin back into the normal range, which works very well to do. But what was really exciting for me is that people in the clinical trials, when they were filling out their questionnaires, were reporting their belly fat was disappearing. Now, I don't know about you, but we can get these great shaped arms and legs and still have this jelly belly or muffin top around our midsection. And so when I saw that this particular nutrient worked for belly fat, I was pretty excited. It also has been researched in 9 clinical trials for polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a condition where women get male facial hair growth, excess hair growth on the body, greasy hair, lots of infertility and irregular periods, and also weight gain, especially around the trunk area in the middle. And it's a terrible condition. We're seeing an increase of this. It's associated with diabetes. We're seeing a lot of young women, teenagers and 20-year-olds who are being diagnosed with it right now. And so this is exciting that this particular ingredient is found in GlucoSmart, and it works like a charm to keep the belly fat at bay. And so if you have a cookie, you want to have a GlucoSmart, and if you have a glass of wine, I would suggest you have another one. The dosage is 1 to 2 capsules per day, and you can use it along with Extra Smart if you've got polycystic ovarian syndrome, and if you have that menopausal weight gain, you'll want to use it along with the menopause support nutrients. And of course, you're going to combine that with a diet of vegetables, green vegetables, protein, and healthy fats, which is a very simple way of eating to just have those pounds fall off you. Another nutrient that I really like for weight loss is called CLA. And CLA is exciting because they did research in the hardest group of women to lose weight. That's the postmenopausal women. And they told those women, don't change your diet, don't exercise, don't do anything different, and take 5,000 milligrams of CLA. And what did they discover? Those women had on average a 7-pound weight loss with no diet change. Just think if they would have taken 5,000 milligrams a day of CLA along with protein, green veggies, and healthy fats, they would have lost even more weight. And the other thing is CLA is a fat that burns fat. There are 12 human studies. It is for insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and pre-diabetes. And I put it into a whole bunch of different formulas. So you can get it in capsules, and which are soft gels capsules, and you would take 5,000 milligrams a day. But I also put it in my protein powder. It's called Protein Smart Protein Powder. And that's a whey protein powder that has 5,000 milligrams of CLA added to it. And in that protein powder, it makes it real thick and yummy and creamy because of the CLA. And you get the added benefit of the weight loss along with the protein. So if you're not a breakfast eater, which I'm not, I have a hard time eating breakfast, you could make yourself a protein shake with CLA. And then I put all my stuff in it. You know, I put my Collagen Plus in there, I put my GLA, I shake it all up and drink it down. I also have a great book out there called A Smart Woman's Guide to Weight Loss. And the entire focus of this particular discussion is in my book, A Smart Woman's Guide to Hormones. So you can also look for that book. And of course, this talk tonight is being taped. So I'm sure that Healthy Planet will also have this available for people to look at. I'm going to answer some questions for people now if somebody had a question that didn't get answered. In regards to the hirsutism and the PCOS, now you know that you should be taking Glucosmart along with Estrosmart. And I would take 2 Glucosmart a day, and I would take 2 Estrosmart if you have PCOS. And then I'd also go on the diet of protein, green veggies, and healthy fats. Oh, there's another question. I'm a woman who has thinning hair, and I took the male hormone test panel, and my DHT is very high. It was over 187 when the normal range is about 39. What can I do? So I don't know how old you are, but for a lot of women, if in order to get diagnosed with PCOS, you would have a blood sugar and insulin test, and they would test your testosterone and DHT. So testosterone converts into DHT. That is the leading reason why most men go bald, is because their testosterone is converting into DHT. In a lot of women, their testosterone converts into DHT. This gives them acne. It also gives them thinning hair. And often those women also get muscles, which is nice because those are the ones who can work out and get this nice shapely body. But in regards to what do we do about DHT, we use Glucosmart and we use Estrosmart. So you would take 2 Estrosmart a day, and you would take 1 to 2 Glucosmart a day, and that can help dramatically to bring that DHT back into the normal range. And I would also have a blood sugar and insulin test done as well, just to rule out the whole PCOS story. The problem with polycystic ovarian syndrome is that only 50% of the women who have polycystic ovarian syndrome actually have cysts in their ovaries. The only true way to get diagnosed with PCOS is to have a blood sugar and insulin, a hemoglobin A1C test, your DHT, and your testosterone checked. So that's what I recommend that you do. And then, of course, if you're trying to grow your hair back, then you want to make sure your iron is in the right level, that your ferritin is above 70, and that you also have a thyroid that's working properly, and that your thyroid test, your TSH, is below 2. Oh, is it safe to take HRT after a total hysterectomy and oophorectomy mid-50s? I'm concerned about breast cancer risk. I think we should be concerned about breast cancer risk, because what happened, you know, about a decade ago, we had this whole craze around bioidentical hormones. And bioidentical hormones, I put them in the yellow light approach. Synthetic HRT, that would be things like Premarin and Provera, I put them in the red light. So we never, never, never take Premarin or Provera or synthetic estradiol. We don't need those because we do have the bioidentical hormones. What I find is that 80+% of women can deal with all of their menopause symptoms using diet, lifestyle, nutritional supplements, and herbs, and then low dose, short-term bioidentical hormones. And the two bioidentical hormones I like, one is estriol, which the interesting thing is if you try estriol for vaginal dryness and you go by the prescription, which usually is using it 3 times a week, after a few weeks, you only need it once a week or once every couple of weeks to keep that at bay. So I always say less is more as well if you're going to do bioidentical hormones. And then you can also use prometrium. Some people use 100 milligrams at bedtime. Some people use 200 milligrams. But I think that most women do not need to take hormones. Most women can sail through menopause using these different nutrients. And the reason why I developed this entire line of nutrients is to deal with basically every symptom that women get when their hormones are out of balance. So I think we do have to be concerned about increased breast cancer risk. And that's the reason why I developed EstroSmart as well. I think if every woman took 1 or 2 of those a day, we'd be able to stop our liver from producing that what we call the bad estrogen, and the name of the bad estrogen is 16-alpha hydroxyestrone. So if your TSH is below 2 and you still have constipation, then my recommendation is that you use the prebiotic fiber product found in Regular Girl and start to take it right away. It usually takes about a week for it to kick in, and then increase your vegetable consumption and reduce all of the starches you consume. So reduce the rice and the pasta and what I call the filler food, and really start to focus on eating the foods that are going to cause bulking as well. And you know, things like GLA and other fatty acids also get all those messengers going to your brain to make the colon contract. That's the other important thing. And drinking water, you can drink gallons of water. It's not going to remove constipation. It's just not going to work. And so improving your fiber content through using something like Regular Girl or Acacia Fiber, those are the things that are really going to improve the probiotic and prebiotic life inside your digestive tract. Lots of people on this meeting tonight diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome. If you have PCOS, you need 2 GlucoSmart a day. You need 2 to 4 EstroSmart a day, depending on how severe it is. And then I really, really recommend that you go on the protein, green veggies, and healthy fats diet, because that just also brings all of those elevated hormones down. The other great thing about consuming more fiber in the form of cruciferous vegetables, green vegetables, acacia fiber, and Regular Girl is that it locks onto all this excess male hormones that we have, all the testosterone and the DHT, and brings it out of our body through our stool. Oh goodness, if you've been in menopause for 10 years, we need to get your thyroid checked. That's really important. And you want your TSH to be below 2, really important number. We also are going to support your adrenals because obviously you're under some kind of stress. And so we want to support and love your adrenals. Probably we want to also help with a new diet and a lot of stress reduction. And you know, that's hard to do right now, especially a lot of us are locked in our houses with our whole families. And that can be stressful because it's not generally what we do all the time. And I'm sure if you have teenagers, they're just dying to get out of the house. So stress reduction is really, really important at menopause and all the time. How long after having babies and nursing and being off birth control should hormones regulate? Are there any supplements and vitamins that I could take for this? Yes, you want to take EstroSmart, and you can start with 2 capsules a day. Some people need 4 capsules a day, but you want to start taking EstroSmart. And again, EstroSmart, the ingredients are all from food. So it's one of those things you can even take while you're breastfeeding. If you have baby hair growing and it's white, you don't need to worry. It's when you have the dark, thick, crunchy black hairs that are growing. That's your body telling you you've got too much testosterone. Using the GLA oil on that, because GLA reduces the testosterone level in the skin, and also going on EstroSmart. There's a question about what about taking DHEA tablets? DHEA is a hormone. In Canada, it's a prescription drug. And I only recommend people take DHEA if they've had their DHEAS tested. So there's a blood test that we have done. It's called DHEAS. And you want to have that test done. And then if it's low, then you want to take a small amount of DHEA, 5 milligrams. You know, start with 5. The doctors are prescribing 50 milligrams, way too much for women. We get acne, we get angry. And so tiny little bit is much better. If your ferritin is around 20, you need to take my Iron Smart, and you need to eat red meat, lamb, chicken, fish, things that are going to elevate your iron levels quickly. That's also important. Oh, a good question. Can we take all these supplements at the same time? The key is take them with food, and take them with the biggest meal of the day. If you've never taken supplements before, do not start taking 20 of them all at the same time. You want to space them out, take them throughout the day with food. It's really important that you take your supplements with food. That's also absolutely key. And how do hormones affect breast symptoms? Well, when estrogen is too high, women get sore breasts, they get swollen breasts, they also get breast lumps. And so we use EstroSmart for that. And I really do truly believe that if I could get every woman on EstroSmart from the time she's 12 until she dies, we'd be able to reduce our risk of abnormal cell growth in the breast. And that really is my goal. I'm going to answer a few more questions here. For post-menopausal women who have low thyroid, what's the best diet and foods to combat the issue? Because I don't want to take medication. Well, if you don't want to take medication, then I really recommend you go on ThyroSmart. And one thing I want to say is thyroid medication is probably one of the best medications out there. The challenge is you want to have low dose. And you can, so that's important to note. It's not one of the bad medications. Having a low thyroid that is not treated properly is so hard on your heart. It's linked to congestive heart failure in women, weight gain, increased risk of diabetes. So we really have to treat our thyroid. So I recommend you go on ThyroSmart. And my favorite diet, I'm going to say it again, protein the size of the palm of your hand at every meal, green veggies, as many green veggies as you like, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, which is butter when it's cold, and avocados. And so that diet, you will not be fat, you will lose weight, you will feel good, you will have lots of energy, your thyroid will love you because the protein that you consume has tyrosine and other things that are good for the thyroid, and the belly fat will start to fall off. So that will also make you happy. I recently lost lots of hair. I'm 43. I'm so scared of having hormonal issues. Well, hair loss is most likely linked to one of the two things, low thyroid and low iron. So go to your doctor, get a test for thyroid, a TSH, and it has to be below 2. If it's above 2, then we treat it with ThyroSmart. And go get your iron checked. It's most likely iron. Any woman who is on this call tonight who has heavy periods, 2 heavy periods in a row, and you are anemic. 3, 4 of them in a row, and your hair starts to fall out. So we really need to get those under control. So don't worry, we have solutions for this hair loss and heavy periods. I have a question about what is the difference between EstroSmart and EstroSmart Plus. 90% of women will need EstroSmart, and oh, by the way, men can take EstroSmart too. especially if they have the beer belly in the breast and erectile dysfunction. And EstroSmart Plus is for women trying to get pregnant so we can get them ovulating properly. And EstroSmart Plus is for those women who have come off the birth control pill and can't get their periods back, or say you're 35 and your periods have stopped for no known reason. We use EstroSmart Plus to get them back again. Everybody else takes EstroSmart, which is good. They're changing the name of EstroSmart Plus because everybody thinks the plus means better. It does not. It means different. And so the majority of people will require EstroSmart. There is a question about, is 0.34 TSH too low? Well, it's bordering on the edge of hyperthyroid. And for those people who have the super, super, super low TSH, which is linked to hyperthyroid or overactive thyroid, we use a nutrient called acetyl L-carnitine and stress reduction to treat that. So I hope that helps you. Oh yes, there's a question. Can I give EstroSmart to my 13-year-old? Yes, you can give EstroSmart to your daughters if they're getting acne and they weigh 100 pounds and they're 11. So the adult dosage on supplements is based around 100 pounds. And if you have an 11-year-old who's got, you know, periods already and acne, they can absolutely take EstroSmart. Let's see who else I can help. Oh yes, some people, I recently had an MRI on my liver and found an adenoma. Yes, it can be caused by the birth control pill. It can be caused by hormone imbalance. My recommendation is for anyone who gets these types of cysts, either in your thyroid or on your liver, they're benign. My recommendation is that you take EstroSmart and start right away, change your diet as well. And you know, the thing about the birth control pill, if you should only use it for one reason, and that's contraception. And if you're using the birth control pill, you take EstroSmart to protect you against the bad estrogens found in the birth control pill. Do not use the birth control pill to regulate periods, to make periods lighter, for any of that, because it just makes things worse. We have EstroSmart that we can use instead of the birth control pill to naturally get your body functioning the way that it's supposed to. Angela's been helping answer questions during the talk. There were a lot of people on this call, almost 500. And so I'm very sorry if we didn't get to all of your questions. You can contact me through Facebook at Lorna Vanderhaeghe. A lot of people have been sending me questions there already. And also this is taped by Healthy Planet. And so I recommend that you, they're going to be, I understand they're going to be sending this particular talk to you guys if you want. They also have the products on sale 20% off at healthyplanet.com. So please go to Healthy Planet and they will give you 20% off, which is awesome because Healthy Planet already has great prices on my products. And they also have lots of other products as well. Somebody asked, what do we do about the coronavirus? How do we protect our families? Vitamin C, 2,000 milligrams a day. Make sure it's one that doesn't have sugar in it, especially if you're giving it to your kids. Zinc, 15 to 25 milligrams a day. I have a product called Immunosmart that you can take as well. Quercetin has been found to help break up some of that congestion. Reduced L-glutathione and NAC are good for your lungs. So I would look at those. And I know you can get all of these things at Healthy Planet as well. The virus doesn't like things that are hot. So, you know, drink lots of hot liquids, stay very well hydrated through this whole time. And please take care. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming on the talk tonight. And I look forward to doing this again with Healthy Planet. We had an absolutely amazing turnout. Thank you very much, everybody. You're very welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on the call tonight. It was really just awesome to be able to share with all of you again. Thank you to Healthy Planet as well, because they really did an awesome job getting people out. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.